Hi and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a bit of a WAYFAIR part 2, I guess. Well, it's a bit of a link when I said about the people that were involved and how they all seem to link back to the same people. Well, I'm going to explain how these people are linked to WAYFAIR and then go into a bit of the conspiracy theory surrounding them. And then when you think about them being linked to WAYFAIR, it just makes it all a bit more worrying and dark. But today we've got a very special guest. I've been on his podcast before and I'm pretty sure we're filming another podcast about the WAYFAIR thing. So if that's up before this one is, probably will be because he's a lot better at this scheduling thing than me, then I'll leave them both in the link down below. Make sure to go check him out, subscribe, like all his videos, comment and let him know that I sent you and that you enjoy his content because it's really good content. Introducing today's special guest, Odyssey Explorer.
Hi guys, Odyssey Explorer here, and today obviously from Cait's intro we're going to be talking about the GHISLANE Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein conspiracy and how that links with the WAYFAIR conspiracy, which is obviously what you've done, Cait, on your previous video. So hopefully, I mean, I can add a bit of information. I mean, I'm not 100% on this topic, but at least I can add a little bit of history and background into the subject, and hopefully you might learn something from it.
Yeah, there's a lot that you spoke about before this recording and stuff that I had no idea about. So welcome to the channel and thank you for coming on. It was a great pleasure being on your podcast, so I'm glad that you enjoyed chatting to me for long enough that you decided to come on here as well.
Yeah, no, it was great having you on the podcast. It was really good podcast. Actually, you did really well that episode. So hopefully we'll be able to do one very soon, obviously talking about what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it will be good.
Also, sorry about my bad camera quality and the audio. I've had a massive error. I'm just going to briefly explain it to you. So you know the hardship that we've gone through to create this video. iPad won't work. Then we're on the laptop's crap. We've already recorded all of this and we've messed it all up. So we're doing it again after 4 hours of filming. So you're welcome. And if you don't subscribe to both of us after we've gone through this much effort to deliver you this video, then
what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? That's on you then, isn't it? So as I mentioned in my WAYFAIR video about the child trafficking scandal, I said at the end of it that I'd probably make a part 2 as there's loads of people that are involved, as there always is with these conspiracy theory cases. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of talk about those people that are involved. And the first person in the sort of line that goes back to the people, if you will, is GHISLANE Maxwell, who is a 58-year-old woman, and she's a British socialite, but she's better known to be linked to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender. But we'll get on to him, don't you worry about that. There was a photo circulating online when all of these photos of overpriced things were coming out, and it was a picture of her with Bill Hutchison, who was said to be the president of operations at WAYFAIR. But when this picture was taken in 2003, WAYFAIR did not even have a president of operations, so obviously that's a false claim. So I'm just letting you know that because I don't want you to think that we're just coming on here and just spitting out everything that we've seen on the media, because we've actually done some research about this. We're not just telling you things that aren't true just to make it seem like it's this big thing, as most people like to debunk conspiracy theories and try and pass them off and say that they're just made up when most of the time they're really not.
Yeah, I mean, even when we were talking on my podcast about Madeleine McCann and some of the stuff on that, arguably to people who don't believe in it, could be like, oh no, it's just a load of rubbish. But we have actually put the time and effort in to do the research and put it out there for you guys to make your own sort of judgment on what you can put the pieces together for yourself, really.
However, there has been a picture circulating online, I'll insert it somewhere, find a way to do it, of a settee, and it's like a brown settee, and it's called a twin 66.1 inch, obviously that's the size, GHISLANE convertible sofa, and it's on sale, and the numbers of the price, but it's not really, I don't know what unit it's in, is 18 3003648 and if you type them coordinates in, they are the exact coordinates of Little St James Island, which is, if you don't know, Jeffrey Epstein's kind of paedophile island. So I just think it's very weird how this settee is like newly just come out from Wayfair as well, and obviously she's just recently been imprisoned. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, it's one of them awkward, well, not awkward, but very, very suspicious coincidences, as they call them, that, oh, it's just a coincidence. When, I mean, like for a coincidence example, like when I was talking about the pyramids in my podcast, how like the coordinates of the pyramid is exactly the same as the speed of light traveling through the universe. And like, that's just a coincidence. Nah, there's no way that there's no way that the price of that sofa is the exact coordinates to where this Jeffrey Epstein's sort of island of sex trafficking and everything was going on. There's no way in hell that that's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, the only people that would be able to put the price of that on their product is Wayfair themselves. And there's obviously a reason behind why they've done it. The same reason why they've called the sofa GHISLANE.
Exactly.
After her. So yeah, it's a very suspicious thing, isn't it? And everybody who says it's just a coincidence, I think, is talking out their
yeah. I feel like it's just a matter of time before someone orders that settee and she turns up, basically.
Yeah. Literally, that's all it is, isn't it? It's just horrible. Well, just a little bit of obviously background history for people who don't know who GHISLANE Maxwell is, or don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is, or how they know each other. Epstein was, at the time, he was a big financial sort of director, would you call him? Financial ombudsman sort of person in America. And he became friends with a bloke called Leslie Wexner. Now, Leslie Wexner was a multi-billion tycoon mastermind of the American trade. And he is classed as one of these elites in America. Now, he's mainly known for the brand Victoria's Secret, which is obviously a modeling / sort of lingerie type business. And it's quite big and well known around the world for all the events they do and everything. And there's quite famous people who do modeling for them. And he owned that at one point. I think he still does. But anyway, Jeffrey Epstein was brought into his sort of family circle to control their finances. And when you're dealing with someone who has that much money as this Wexner did, you are obviously going to earn a lot of money by doing it. And obviously by earning all this money, he went through the process then, Jeffrey Epstein, of buying all these luxury cars, these luxury houses, these holiday resorts, like the island we're going to be talking about. And these different islands and these different places that he bought were obviously used in this sex trafficking scandal, which is obviously what we're going to cover. But getting on to how these two met. Now, they met through a anonymous mutual friend in New York City, and no one knows who this mutual friend is, but it just seems a bit of a coincidence how they miraculously met through this circle of friendships and all these different organizations and these elites. Which is obviously what we'll cover, and it's a bit confusing. But then, if you look at how they met in New York, New York is known for a lot of millionaires. I think it's the most millionaires come from New York.
Really?
Now that would obviously and that would obviously link in with him having the office there. Trump also has the Trump Tower in New York, which is, we'll get onto that as well. Now, obviously, being Jeffrey Epstein, the man he was, he needed, obviously, an office like the Trump Tower, like I said. And he obviously created his own empire. And to run his reception or whatever, he had to hire receptionists and stuff. Now, he hired this woman called Maria Farmer. And Maria Farmer was his receptionist for many years. And between Jeffrey Epstein and GHISLANE Maxwell, I don't know, that woman, they started to bring what she thought, Maria Farmer, to be models or candidates to be in the modelling agency to do with Victoria's Secret on behalf of this Wexner. So they obviously were brought back to his hotel or his empire building or whatever, and they were coming up. But I mean, I don't know whether you know Victoria's Secret models, but they look very young and they look, you know
delicate
what I mean?
and pretty.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, this Maria Farmer would just look at these girls and go, "Oh, they're just Victoria's Secret models." But she always, apparently, according to interviews, she always had in the back of her mind, "Well, they look a bit too young." Now, obviously, it turns out and transpires that these were underage girls that were coming to this building and this establishment, and she was very suspicious about it. And she confronted GHISLANE Maxwell about this happening, and Jeffrey Epstein obviously caught ear of this and was a bit worried. So he invited this Maria Farmer to one of his grand mansions that he owned in Ohio, and the mansion, funnily enough, was on a complex that was owned by this Leslie Wexner. And when she went there, she said she was going there on a holiday vacation for to obviously paint some artwork and stuff, because she was a very, very well off artist. She sold artwork and stuff. So obviously going there to see all the nature and everything was up her street. And during the trip over in Ohio, Jeffrey Epstein and GHISLANE Maxwell paid her a visit. And on one of the nights, they asked for Maria Farmer to go into Jeffrey Epstein's bedroom. And obviously at the time she was like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
Considering what she thought in her head to be what going on. So she went into the bedroom allegedly, and Jeffrey Epstein's there being nothing but his underwear. And between the two of them, GHISLANE Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, they sexually assaulted this Maria Farmer, and she's openly said this in the press. Now, this was in 1996 this happened, and obviously she didn't want to go back to work for Epstein after what happened. I don't think anybody would. And she went straight to the FBI and reported him for sexual assault offences, as well as what was going on with the Victoria's Secret models. And the FBI in 1996 turned around and said, "We don't want nothing to do with this. There's no credibility. You're the only person to come and have spoken about it, so we can't take your word as gospel." And in other words, they basically brushed it aside. Now, we all know the FBI are run by certain people, and those certain people are involved with all this. So why would they risk that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Risk dobbing him in for one person. So they were just hoping that this Maria Farmer would shut up and not talk about it. And she did, until obviously in 2008 when it all sprung back up again. And then it all came alight that what she was going on about was true. So in hindsight, in 1996, if the FBI had pulled their finger out and dealt with it, which we all know they wouldn't have done, but if they had done, then maybe all of these 16-year-olds, these 15-year-old girls that have gone through life traumatic situations, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But that's how things happen, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's just like, when you think about it, it's just so annoying. Like, I'm not an FBI agent or trained in law or that sort of thing, but they're really bold claims to make about someone. Like, it's not every day that someone says those sort of things about people. So, like, obviously it was just her word against theirs, but surely there was something that they could have done to look into it at least a little bit further, instead of just being like, no, that's it. Just like borderline, just cut her straight off. Like, she's not just going to make it up for no reason. She works for the man and she's going to be out of a job.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's not like she's someone she doesn't know.
Yeah.
She's putting her whole career at risk by saying these claims. It's not like you say, it's not like she's going to be making it up, because she's going to lose her job regardless. So yeah, it's obvious that there's some problems behind it, and obviously with other situations to do with the FBI, we all know that they're very, very corrupt. But we'll discuss that in another video, I suppose.
So also you mentioned that he was arrested in 2008
Yeah,
on these sorts of crimes, but he was let go because there was no evidence.
yeah,
However,
allegedly.
this time around, he was arrested on the 6th of July 2019 on federal charges for sex trafficking of minors. And in his trial of this one, he said that he had compromising information about powerful figures, and this is the time that he gets put away for it, and there is enough evidence of the
Yeah,
same things that he was doing back then, which they
yeah.
could have collected evidence for if they just tried a bit harder.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that to me, it just shows that because he's come out publicly and said, I can expose certain people, they've then gone, no, you're in prison now. That's it.
Yeah.
We're putting you away. Basically, like silencing
Mm.
a witness in a sense, because I mean, I know he obviously he did the things that
Yeah.
happened, but it's almost like the same as 6ix9ine, the rapper,
Mm.
how he was put away for certain charges, and now he's dobbed people in. He's pretty much got away with it, and
Yeah.
he's now out of prison. Um, so it's sort of the same concept, really, with Jeffrey Epstein. How he's now trying to say that he's going to dob people in. He goes back into prison because they're trying to shut him up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like I guarantee what you're going to say now, he miraculously commits suicide.
Just miraculously dead 1
Yeah,
month after being in prison, just 1 month. So on the 10th of August 2019, so just after a month and a couple of days after after being in prison, he committed suicide.
yeah,
And the reason that there's a whole conspiracy surrounding this is because under his like protection sort of thing to make sure that he's safe and that he doesn't hurt himself or anyone else hurts him, so that he can stay in prison forever and serve out his time and
yeah,
I'd say get what he deserves, but he deserved a
yeah,
lot more than just being in prison for the rest of his life.
100%.
So he was supposed to have a roommate, like a cellmate, if that's what they're
Yeah,
called, all the
cellmate. Yeah,
time. Yeah, so that like he's never alone, so that there's always an eyewitness to something, if that makes sense.
yeah,
There was two front cameras in his cell that were recording 24/7, and he had two guards at all time, 24 hours of the day, that would check on him every single 30 minutes. But conveniently, on the night that he committed suicide,
yeah,
his cellmate, for no reason, was transferred to another cell for no reason, never given another one, so he's just in his cell by himself. And the guards forged the sheet where they say like that they've been unchecked on him and
yeah.
other things that they have to write down and sign it. They'd forged it because for 3 hours they didn't go and check on him once. He actually fell asleep at their desk.
Fell asleep.
Yeah, fell asleep. Definitely wasn't put to sleep. They just
Oh yeah,
fell asleep. Yeah. And the two front cameras, which obviously would be fine if we had just the front cameras, be able
yeah,
to tell everything from them, but they actually malfunctioned. And 3 hours, the 3 hours that that they were asleep, the guards, convenient 3 hours, all happening at the same time, it malfunctioned and the footage was deemed unusable. So no one knows what happened.
see that to me, that is just it's just suspect, isn't it? Because like it seems to be with all cases that happen like this, where someone from the inner circle tries to expose someone higher up. There's always a coincidence that, oh, this happened and that's why we couldn't see him and that's what happened because of this. And you're thinking, no, that would never happen under normal
Yeah.
circumstances. There is no chance that the cameras would be out, the guards would fall asleep, and the cellmate would be transferred with no other cellmate replacing him on the exact same time that he allegedly kills himself. It's just a load of rubbish. It
Yeah.
really is.
And another thing about the whole killing himself thing, obviously he did not have the power to be out of his cell and make these like guards go to sleep like he could like drug them or whatever. He couldn't do
Yeah.
that because he's in prison under constant surveillance and
Yeah,
his
exactly.
cellmate would have been there. He can't just magically get his cellmate transferred, and also he couldn't tamper with the footage to make it thingy. So even if all of these things were happening, if I was in prison and all of these things happened, how would he know that that was the right time to commit suicide? How would he know that the cameras weren't working, that the guards were asleep, and that his cellmate wouldn't be coming back at any moment? He wouldn't know that to do that.
No. And that just points the one way, doesn't it? It just points that he was killed. He was taken out. It wasn't a suicide. I mean, I will say that I believe it wasn't, and I believe that he generally did. They generally did take him out because they were at risk of being exposed themselves, whoever these elites are. And I'll say it now. I generally do think that there is something being hidden from the public, like there always is with situations like this.
Because they're like, this is what frustrates me about these kind of things. People that would don't believe in these things and they just think that it's not real, they always would assume no one would be that powerful enough. But you don't know the power that some people do, and these are people that run countries. No one is above that person. He runs the whole entire country for 4 years. Former presidents, current presidents, we'll get into that. But it just blows my mind that people don't stop and think, oh, maybe the president of the whole entirety of the United States will probably have someone killed and get it covered up. Of course they can.
Yeah. And it's also the fact that, like you say, where people just sort of push it aside. It's like when they say that, for example, Boris Johnson runs the country in this country. No, he doesn't. Who does Boris Johnson report to? Who's controlling him? There's always someone higher up. And some people say it's the Queen, but the Queen has no say in politics, really. And with the American, the president and everything, he reports to the senator, and then the senator reports to who? And these people will never be exposed in the public eye. And there's another conspiracy theorist called David Icke. He's not a theorist. He calls himself a researcher. He always says that these people are in the unknown. They're in the center, hidden from the mainstream world. And he makes sense because he also says in one of his videos, he's banned off YouTube now because he's sort of exposed all these people. And he says, if countries are in debt, for example, we're in debt, America's in debt to who? That's how I see it. It's like, well, who are we in debt to? There's got to be someone higher up. And like you say, people just sort of go, oh no, president runs the country, or Boris Johnson runs the country. They don't. And it's those higher up people who we don't know who control situations like this Jeffrey Epstein incident. And because they don't want to be broadcast into the public eye, because they want to remain hidden, things like this, when Jeffrey Epstein or people that have been working for those people come out and say, I'm going to expose them, things like this happen. And people just go, no, it's a coincidence, because people are blind to see that these things are going on.
And also on the theory and people debunking it with the suicide, I feel like it's easier for people to believe that it's a suicide instead of a murder, because he obviously was a horrible man. And if he did commit suicide, that also means not only was he an arsehole, he's also a coward as well, because he couldn't face what he did. So he just killed himself, got the easy way out. It makes him even worse person. And also, if he would have been murdered, then a lot of people would view it as the greater good sort of thing, because he was such an evil person that if someone was to kill him, then it would be what a lot of people wanted, him being dead because of what he caused and how horrible of a person he was. People don't really care to think about it because they don't want to victimise him because he's an arsehole. They don't want to look into it and be like, oh no, he got killed, and put people in prison for that because he deserved it.
Yeah, exactly. And I totally agree with you. And people sort of will look at it like, oh, they've now, I know, like you say, he was an arse, and people will now look at him and say, yeah, that arse is also a coward because he didn't face up to what he rightfully should. Well, I mean, like we say, he should have got more than what he had, and he deserved everything that was coming to him. But people will obviously call him a coward, and that's how they'll labour him now for the rest of the days. But the situation is that he's now been taken out, so the truth could not come out from his lips, even if it was slightly untrue. I mean, some people will say rational things to try and get out of situations. Yeah. However, we know, as well as a lot of other people know, that this is going on, and it's still going on to this day. And for him to even mention one name out of whoever's doing it, that could spark a whole uprising that these elites don't want. They don't want that. They just want everything to go smoothly and no one to care. And for people like Jeffrey Epstein, who were going to expose it for their own benefit, but who were going to expose it, that poses a threat to them.
Yeah.
So
because like you said easy. About them being linked, like it's as though if he was to name one person, that one person isn't just linked to another person who's then linked to another person. They all seem to know all of them.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense that, you know, certain people work for certain people, they know them. But it's the weird friendships that they've got with other people. Like, why is this businessman friends with presidents? He's just a normal businessman. You don't see people you don't see Marks and Spencers. It's probably not the guy who owned Marks and Spencers. You don't see them hanging out with Boris Johnson. It's just it's not a thing, is it?
No, and that's where it all sort of stems back to the money and greed and the way that money manipulates everything. And they say money rules the world, and that's just a proof of it. If you've got a big, massive business tycoon who's worth billions, they're going to be involved with the hierarchy because of they've got the money to cover things up, and it all works in each other's favour, doesn't it? They help them out, and if the billionaire, say businessman, got into a bit of trouble, then the people who own the police or the people who own the FBI will cover them and watch their backs. And it was the same with the Jimmy Savile incident. How he was in the inner circle of the royal family, and he was really close to Prince Albert, who also is a best friend of Jeffrey Epstein. and it all links together. And the more you talk about it and the more you connect the dots, you start to see the bigger picture, and how, like I say, how Prince Albert was connected with Jeffrey Epstein, and how Jimmy Savile's connected with him, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on, and you'll just see it open up. And like I say, it's all being covered up by each other, and I don't think we'll ever see it in our lifetime where it all comes out, but it's one of them things.
It's just going to take one person, and then they'll probably die. So So when Epstein did die in prison, Ghislaine. Yeah.
Ghislaine.
Yeah. She came up. My teeth look so yellow in this line. Sorry for the line. Just ignore it. But she came out and publicly said that he didn't kill himself. She knew for sure that he didn't kill himself. She was like protesting for it, all of that thing. And then, interestingly enough, just like Epstein, she said that she was going to expose some people. There was loads of articles saying that she was going to... she's ready to talk about Pizzagate was the name of the article. If I can find it, I'll insert a picture of it. There's no picture. I didn't find it. But yeah, it was just saying that she was ready to talk about Pizzagate. And that was on a newspaper. So clearly, even the newspapers know that this is a thing.
Yeah.
And the media is, as we all know, heavily censored. So if that got through, then what are they censoring?
Yeah, well, the media have obviously got a massive part to play in it because, like we all know, the media is just corrupting itself. But the media are probably covering a lot up that even we don't know, and we go into it a lot, the conspiracy side of things as well as the history and everything else. But there's probably things out there that would link everything together, and they're being hidden by the media because, again, the media are controlled by the elites and everything else. So, yeah, I don't trust anything the media says. I don't even watch the news or anything like that because they're just, it's just a load of crap, basically.
Pretty much,
yeah.
So on the 2nd of July this year, she was arrested for basically being involved with the whole thing of Jeffrey Epstein, because basically when he died, the FBI kind of just said, well, he's dead, you were involved, we're going to pin it all on you to just blame someone, because everyone's angry that we let him commit suicide, and now we're just going to make you pay for it all, basically. So she's in prison with no sheets. She's not allowed sheets, so she doesn't, hurt herself. She's got paper clothes and 24-hour surveillance.
Yeah.
However, from her trial, like when it was going on and then she went back to her cell, they actually turned the cameras off to allow her some peace in this difficult time.
Well, the camera surveillance being turned off is obviously just exactly the same as what was happening with Epstein. And I think that we're going to hear very, very soon that this Ghislaine Maxwell is going to, she's going to have miraculously died somehow. I think it's just a matter of time, like we said before recording. And for the camera surveillance to be turned off and to be publicly known that it's being turned off, I think it's sort of, what's the word? It's conditioning the public. So that when this does happen, it was like, it just happens on the routine when the camera's turned off because she has her peaceful time to herself or something. And it's not as obvious, if that makes sense. Because I think any slip up now, especially to do with this Ghislaine Maxwell, any slip up that's got any sort of correlation with how Jeffrey Epstein died is going to be very, very obvious in how it happened and why it happened. And people who maybe don't even question the Jeffrey Epstein sort of thing that happened, those people will then turn around and go, something's going on here. That there's no way two people can go out the same way who were dealt in the same convictions and dealt in the same industry of sex trafficking. Industry, I can't really call it an industry, but
career opportunity.
It's like an industry though. How many people are going? How many people are doing it? And
I mean,
how many
it's just the whole Hollywood industry, really. But
exactly.
Another topic.
Another topic. I mean, we could go into that for hours with like Disney and all sorts. So, but it's very suspicious and it's very coincidental is the better word for it. How these cameras are being turned off, and that happened with Epstein. So,
like you said about the whole like conditioning the public to get used to it, it's kind of like, all the like 9/11 conspiracy theories and that sort of thing. When big things like that happen and then you go back and watch The Simpsons or stuff like that, there's pictures of it years before it happened, and it's just like, why would you know that they were going to be blown up? You wouldn't. It's slowly being fed into the media, so when you see things like the Twin Towers blown up, you think, Twin Towers blown up, and then it happens and you think, I swear that's already happened. And it hasn't. It's just getting it into your head so you're used to it, so when it does happen, you're not like, oh my gosh, I need to research that. You're just like, the right good work.
To back up what you said about the conditioning, especially with 9/11, that there was plenty, like obviously you said The Simpsons. The one I remember is the Terminator film. I believe it's Terminator 2. Don't hold me to it. When he goes under one of the bypasses, it says caution 9/11 on the overpass, and the other one is linked with these elites with the Illuminati. The Illuminati had the cards, the Illuminati cards. If you try and find a picture, I'll send it you. But there's a picture of people running away from the Twin Towers being blown up, or a plane going into some towers, and these Illuminati cards were made in the 1800s. And do you know what I mean? The Twin Towers weren't even built then. So like that is conditioning people exactly like you say, and when it does happen, people are like, that's already happened, or that's why it happened, and it's not as much of a shock to people, and people don't start to ask questions.
So the final part of the higher beings that it links to, definitely not at the very top or anywhere near it, but the top of the kind of public eye that you was talking about in your video. I can't remember what it's called. The what's it called? You spider web analogy of it all.
Oh yeah, the David Icke spider web analogy. Yeah.
There we are.
The spider web, for people who haven't watched my video, the spider web is basically, if you imagine you've got a big spider web and the world is controlled by this spider's web. In the dead center, you've got people who you'll never see at all. These are the people that even conspiracy theorist people don't even know. And then you've got the outer rings where you go into like the Jesuit order, you've got the Club of Rome, you've got the Illuminati, everybody knows who they are, the Freemasons, the Templars, and everything like that. And then you keep branching out, and then eventually you get to the Silicon Valley, Facebook, Google, YouTube, everybody like that, who obviously then spray out to the media, the public figures, including in this spider web, you've got the president, you've got the prime ministers, you've got all of these different people that are portraying what the spider in the center wants to happen. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. It's very, very complicated. If you want to check out the video, by all means, check it out. But yeah.
I'll link it down below. So, as I was saying, like the edge-ish sort of bit, the top people that we're ever going to know about, basically, especially in our lifetimes, maybe far distant future, might get to the next level, but I doubt it, is former presidents, current presidents, royal family, just generally anyone that seems a bit suspicious has definitely been to Little St. James's Island, which is where Epstein sort of trafficked all the underage girls to, and it was kind of a paedophile island, if you will. And a lot of these people, such as Bill Clinton, I've got a picture, I'll insert it if I can remember or if I can find it, but he publicly said that he's been many times and basically had a great time there, which is just really weird because I think things like that, he's clever. Bill Clinton is a clever man, so for him to slip up so much, because obviously he probably didn't say that when Jeffrey Epstein was like going to prison, but he knows what's going on there, so you have to be extremely cocky and confident to just be like, yeah, went to this island, had a great time, because you've got to know that somewhere down the line something's going to happen, someone's going to talk, and he's just saying it so openly. Like, why couldn't you just not mention it? Like, why did he have to burst about it?
Yeah, it's very suspicious, isn't it, how people, especially of that power, that can turn around and say it like they did. And it's also very suspicious how all these hierarchy people, especially, like you mentioned, Bill Clinton, who we mentioned in both of our Madeleine McCann videos, has been found, especially Hillary as well, which is Bill Clinton's wife, for people who don't know. They're all linked with these different keyword emails and all sorts going on. Again, check the videos out to see what we were going on about, because we will be here all night talking about that. But yeah, it's funny how they're all linked. And like I mentioned about how the royal family and Jimmy Savile and everything, and Prince Albert, for example, I guarantee he visited, because him and Jeffrey Epstein were very close. And for them to come out and say they had a good time at this so-called paedophile island is very, very disgusting. And it just all links into each other, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. But I know that you knew something about the current president, Donald Trump. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was obviously doing my job, and I heard over the radio that Donald Trump actually, and we all know he's mental on Twitter. He puts anything on there. He actually tweeted out saying that he wishes GHISLANE Maxwell all the best in her trial, and hope she's well.
Well, that's something you'd say to a friend, and obviously they were friends because they were on the same paedophile island together.
Yeah, exactly. And for the current president of the United States to come out and say that he wishes her well.
Exactly.
After full well knowing what she did. And he claims that they were friends before all this. And I'm thinking, well, if you were friends before, you knew obviously what was going on. And because you're such a big public figure like the President of the United States that could cause a lot of controversy, you don't publicly say to a potentially convicted paedophile, "Oh, I hope you're all right."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just wrong.
Like, I mean, even if they were friends, like, you are the president of a country, a very powerful. You can't just wish sex offenders well. That's just not something that you can do as a president. Does this man not get told by anyone? Does he not have publicists? I just don't understand. People must check his things and say, Donald, you can't write that, and he's just, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the way he tweets and stuff, it's like you say, you should have someone that says that, oh, that you shouldn't be putting that out there, mate. But it just seems like there's no filter at all, and the things he's saying are starting to make people sort of question what's going on.
Yeah.
And for him to come out and obviously say this about this Ghislaine Maxwell with everything going on with the court case recently, I think it's just horrendous, really.
So we're just going to leave that there because we've been rambling on for hours, and this video is probably an hour long as it is.
Obviously, when the inevitable happens and she does die, because it's going to happen. With obviously everything that happened with Jeffrey Epstein and that, we'll obviously make a video on it and we'll say we told you so, I think. But until then, I've been Odyssey Explore, and thank you for having me, Cait, on your channel.
It's all right. Thanks for coming on. Also, if you've not checked out his channel already, then go and do so. It'll all be linked down below, and I'll try and remember link all the videos that we've kind of spoke about. If not, just go onto your, is it like a playlist, your like podcast playlist? Just watch all of them. They're incredibly interesting. And if you've got to this part to hear me say this, then clearly you like conspiracy theories. So go and watch them because they're also good conspiracy theories.
Guys, Odyssey Explorer here, and I'm on Cait's pod. Oh, it's not a podcast, is it? Fuck. Do you like fig rolls?
I'm recording.
Huh?
I'm recording.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. Just
thought. Do I have a fig roll?
Yeah. ASMR. This is why it takes us 4 hours. It's recording.
Oh, it's recording.
Oh, they didn't see the bottle. Can you be a good boy now? So that's it. That's the video. Obviously, this is a couple of days later that I'm filming this because we finished filming at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I wasn't about to do an intro. The lighting was awful. We had so many problems, so I'm coming back to do it now. Also, I realised I didn't really give a proper disclaimer at the beginning of the video, so I just wanted to give it here. I just wanted to let you know that this video is just stuff that we've compiled and done research on and seen circulating on social media. As I said about the thing about GHISLANE Maxwell and the president of operations at WAYFAIR, that picture, how that wasn't true. I just wanted to let you know that what we've researched is believed to be fact. It is just a conspiracy theory, and obviously there could be no truth in it, or some. I'm just putting it out there so that we're more critical with our thinking and don't just trust everyone, as these things are going on in the world and they're really dark and deep. That being said, if we did upset or offend anyone, then we're very sorry about that, and it was not our intent at all. Can we please just appreciate this eyebrow? Look at the shape of that. There's nothing on them, just brushed them up. I'm gonna zoom in. How fascinating is that? So very impressed. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye!